Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. Okay. On behalf of CAAR, I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome you to the CAAR December General Membership Meeting. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us this morning. To begin today's meeting, I welcome you to stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge CAAR's antitrust statement. This statement ensures we are encouraging discussions that promote all realtors and does not restrict competition among members or potential members. We work to foster a forum for an open discussion of diverse opinions without attempting in any way to discourage or sanction any business practice. The CAAR antitrust statement will be acknowledged before every CAAR meeting. The full copy of our antitrust statement is available at the registration desk for in-person attendees, and it was included in the handouts for Zoom participants. As this is a general membership meeting, we will move on to the approval of the minutes from our November general membership meeting and annual business meeting. The minutes were included in this morning's handouts. Are there any additions or corrections to the distributed minutes? If so, please raise your hand or submit your feedback using the Zoom chat window. Any Zoom? If not, they stand approved as distributed. Thank you. We are extremely grateful to our sponsors for stepping up and helping us provide this wonderful program. This morning is brought to you courtesy of presenting sponsor, Virginia Housing, event sponsors, Embrace Home Loans, and Farm Credit of the Virginias. We value the professionalism, service, and support of our affiliates to CAAR and its members. At this time, I would like to invite Virginia Housing Representative Frank Webster to share a few words.
Good morning. This is like the third time I'm standing here at this podium in 30 days. So I feel like I'm a member of CAAR here. I'm so frequently now. So I appreciate you guys a lot. Season's greetings to everyone from Virginia Housing. My name is Frank Webster, and I am the Business Development Officer for Virginia Housing. I cover the Charlottesville and the entire western region of the state. We always appreciate any opportunity to support CAAR and your work in the Charlottesville market. So we are very happy to be here to sponsor the December general membership meeting and the installation of officers and directors tonight. I want to use this opportunity to speak very plainly to you for about a minute about the practical ways that Virginia Housing can help you promote affordable home ownership in this market and make home ownership be a reality for Charlottesville and the surrounding area. For first-time homebuyers, for eligible first-time homebuyers that we work with, we provide down payment and closing cost assistance, which makes it possible for a purchaser to close with no down payment and substantially reduce closing costs. Our Spark program that we use, that we offer through participating local governments and nonprofit organizations such as Piedmont Housing, provides purchasers with a permanent, no-cost 1% reduction in their mortgage interest rate. Purchasers using conventional financing can also obtain lower costing or reduced cost PMI. Together, both of these benefits will lower the borrower's monthly mortgage payment. And our mortgage credit certificate program gives purchasers a dollar-for-dollar reduction on their federal income tax liability and a dollar-for-dollar increase in their refund every year for the life of the mortgage. So all of these programs can be combined together so that the purchaser can get the most help possible. You get to work with your local lenders. You're using the programs that you're used to using. And if you would like to have more information on how we can offer these advantages to your home buyers, please see me at my table with the adjournment of the meeting. And I would love to come and do a lunch and learn at your local office. We'll pay for lunch for your office and we'll bring a good message to you. So thank you again. We just love being here and I will see you next week at the DEI event. Not the
Thank you, Frank. If you haven't already done so, please visit the sponsor tables before you leave today. I would like to say that I truly believe that when you become a member of our association, you are reaching for something higher in both profession and purpose. While we may work for different companies, we support each other and our community through both the good times and the bad. Inevitably, when a group of committed professionals comes together in this way, we form bonds of mutual respect, friendship, and caring with others in our association. As we approach the new year and a time of looking ahead, it is also important to take a moment and look back. This last year has had moments of triumph and deep loss. I would like to read the names of some of our members and former members who have passed this year. Richard Lewis Dick Albert, a former CAAR member. Robert Patrick Green, a former CAAR member. Raleigh Colston Minor, a former CAAR member. And Alexandria Scott Scottsville Ward Jr., Realtor of First Dominion Realty Incorporated, Scottsville. While the following names were not CAAR members, our association mourned the devastating loss of 3 beautiful and talented souls, along with the Charlottesville community and UVA. Lavelle Davis Jr., Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry. We continue to stand with the UVA community and offer words and actions of hope, healing, and comfort. At this time, I ask that we hold a moment of silence in honor and remembrance of our peers and friends and any others that we may have lost this year. Thank you. During this meeting and the installation this evening, we will celebrate many of CAAR's successes and new beginnings. Although I still cannot believe we are already in December and my year as president is quickly coming to an end, I am extremely excited to pass the gavel to our incoming president, S. Lisa Herndon, who will be the first African-American president of CAAR. While it is unfortunate that CAAR past president Denise Ramey will not be able to be with us this evening for the passing of the gavel tradition. We are fortunate to have her this morning. It is my pleasure to invite Virginia Realtors immediate past president, Denise Ramey, to the podium to offer her words of welcome, hope, and inspiration to us and incoming President S. Lisa Herndon.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces. It's great to see you in person, and it's wonderful to be here preemptively to celebrate the installation of the new officers and Lisa as your new president. I want to say thanks to Pam Dent. She's done an amazing job in 2022, and let's give her a round of applause for all of her hard work. We had a celebration of Ginger Slavic's career last night here at CAAR, and I know she served on your board as an outgoing board member this year, but congratulations to Ginger for 47 years of service as a realtor in the Charlottesville area. I have a big smile because as of December 1st, I am now the immediate past president for the Virginia Realtors. And I'll get to spend a lot more time here in Charlottesville with my family and my friends and hopefully selling lots of real estate. So thank you all for your support as I journeyed down that path with Virginia Realtors. Abby and the staff have been wonderful. All of my Charlottesville friends have been great. Percy, so many great role models here in Charlottesville. So I want to thank you for all of your support as I enjoyed my year as president in 2022. I asked Lisa if I could say a few words since I can't be here tonight because we have our team holiday celebration, which has been planned for months, or I would have moved it. But I'm so excited for her and so honored for her that she will be your first African-American president, but more importantly, she'll be your president for 2023. And I've watched her along the way with her volunteer journey and her commitment to both our business, her clients, and our association. And I'm so proud of her and so excited for her. I want to also just say a quick thanks. Is Pat Surrey here? No? She had an appointment. So Pat's been another great member who's done so much for our association. We celebrated Day of First with Lisa's induction as CAAR president. And it's a day that I'm most proud to be a realtor in Virginia and here in Charlottesville. She's volunteered with so many realtor and community organizations and is a devout believer in giving back to her profession and her community. She's worked diligently to support the Women's Council of Realtors, our DEI efforts at the local, state, and national level. She's a proud member of the VLA class of 2019. The best. I'm 09, so I'd have to debate it, but that's okay. She's also a member of the Charlottesville Chamber of Commerce leadership class of 2020 and the Minority Business Alliance with the Charlottesville Chamber and so many more organizations. She's committed to our business, to our community, and I'm so proud of her for all that she's done. It's not without a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time to be a volunteer leader in so many organizations. So thank you, Lisa. As you all may know, the National Association of Realtors, our state associations, and our local associations are recommitted to creating pathways to better reach and serve underrepresented populations and markets. And in Virginia, we're definitely doing this. Diversity, equity, and inclusion have been a really key focus at Virginia Realtors over the past couple of years. We want everyone from our members to consumers to our industry partners to recognize us as a diverse and welcoming organization. And Lisa has been a huge part of that effort, both at the state and the national level. Virginia Realtors' efforts include establishing a DEI presidential advisory group that met monthly for over a year, evaluating our association and making recommendations. Creating more opportunities for members of diverse backgrounds to volunteer with the association. And I'm proud to say that based on those efforts, we saw our applications for memberships for committees at the state increased by more than 50% in 1 year. And the diversity of the applications that we received was very encouraging that those efforts have made a difference. We've also worked really hard to develop toolkits, programs, and other resources for our local associations around DEI and fair housing. And I'm proud to say that CAAR has led the way. When Quentin was president in 2021, Charlottesville won the award for having the highest percentage of participants in the Fair Haven program. And you should be really proud of yourselves that you led the way. So congratulations on that. We've also worked at partnering with NAR to develop and execute many of their DEI initiatives. And we established a permanent DEI committee to focus ongoing on our efforts at the association at the state level. I'm so pleased to recognize that Lisa has been involved from the very beginning. She was a member of the Virginia Realtors DEI PAG and helped us get to where we are today, a national leader amongst realtor associations in the DEI space. Leslie Frazier is our state staff support person who really leads our charge in industry relations and DEI. And she's had so many positive things to say about the impact that Lisa's had on the committees that she served on and her efforts in helping lead the way in this effort. In addition to the state efforts, Lisa served on NAR's diversity committee. And most recently, she and a few other Virginians served on NAR's diversity strategic planning work group. When it comes to DEI and fair housing, CAAR has hit the ground running. I mentioned the Fair Haven Challenge, which you guys led the way on. We've also been recognized as one of the most dedicated associations in advancing DEI and creating culture change. So we're blessed to have associations like CAAR and volunteer leaders like Lisa who dedicate their time and energy to help make us better as associations, as leaders, as realtors, and as humans in general. I have no doubt that Lisa will carry the torch well as CAAR 2023 president. With hard work comes big accomplishments, and you have without question shown this to be true. I want to congratulate you as you deserve all the admiration and attention that you will receive. Let us toast your achievement with friends and family and celebrate this special time with you tonight. Bravo, great job.
Thank you for joining us this morning, Denise. Does anyone know who said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Do you know who said that? Oh. No, Quentin says a lot of things, but it was Martin Luther King Jr. Oh, this quote really sets the stage for our influential first panel discussion. The individuals I'm about to invite to the stage have made monumental steps in our local real estate industry, paving the way for others to follow in their footsteps. I would like to invite the following members to take a seat on stage. First, African-American incoming CAAR president and moderator, S. Lisa Herndon. Fourth, woman CAAR president, Pat Widhalm. And first woman CEO of CAAR, Deborah Van Eersel. Unfortunately, first CAAR member as president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers Realtist Chapter of Richmond, Patrina Tyree couldn't be with us this morning because of illness. We hope she feels better soon. If you would like to learn more about these trailblazers, please refer to today's handouts. If you would like to ask the panelists a question, please complete an index card. You have them in your packet, and raise your hand for staff to collect. If you are joining us virtually, please use the question feature in the Zoom toolbar. Incoming President Lisa, I hand the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Pam. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Well, let's get started. Ladies, are you ready? Good. Considering the historical roles that you've held in various organizations, how did you originally become involved in the organizations in which you're currently involved in or prior to? Was there a particular reason, purpose, or person who inspired you to take that first step?
So one, it's great to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces and it's really taken me back in time. So thinking about it in the context of the Realtor organization, I didn't come as a volunteer, so I came as a paid staff person. So it's a little bit of a different journey. I graduated from college and I had no expectation to be in the nonprofit business. And I have been in it for my entire career now. So, I thought I would be doing something else. I was going to do international relations and exporting, importing, and here I am in Charlottesville. I married a guy who was in the hotel industry and came here to open the Courtyard Marriott at the first Courtyard property, or the first Marriott property at the mall, Fashion Square Mall. Thought I'd be here for a year. And it's been 35, 36 years. So it's a pretty common story, I think, in Charlottesville. I just happened to be looking for a home and found myself at Century 21 Manley Associates, and Douglas Manley was going to be stepping into your seat, Lisa, and said, gosh, what do you do? And I said, well, I work for the Retail Merchants Association. And I had been working for some really amazing long-term folks who taught me everything they knew about nonprofit. And she said, well, why don't you apply for the job? And I could tell she was a strong leader, and I really liked her a lot. And so I did, and the rest is sort of history. And I would say that every leader that I had here at CAAR was super strong, very, very engaged in the organization, and supported me in everything that I did and all of my dreams for what I thought I could bring to the organization. So that really launched me and helped me get to where I am today, really, after 30-something years in Charlottesville.
Excellent. Ms. Pat?
Good morning. I see so many friendly faces, and you'll have to forgive me. I occasionally suffer from familial tremors, so I'm not afraid of you. This thing is going to shake us. First of all, I want to thank whoever it was to put out the flyer that said I've only been in the real estate business for 30 years because it makes me feel a lot younger. Actually, I was in slightly ahead of Ginger Slavic, so now you know really what's going on. In terms of the entry into real estate, it came because I had the opportunity to look for another set of skills when I was leaving the University of Virginia, because they were not interested in continuing a department I was in. And I thought, well, I better find another set of skills. And I met a very good friend of mine who at that time was my neighbor, and who was at that time Barbara Grindy, who is now, of course, Barbara McMurray, who we will see this evening. And she said, there's another set of skills that you could acquire. So I took real estate just kind of for another set of skills. And how I met Barbara in that set was that she was teaching for the National Institute of Real Estate. And we didn't have courses to take in those days. You just had to pass a test. But there was one section that you had to study, and that was Virginia license law. So Barbara was teaching it, and I took it. Then I went off to teach in Newfoundland, and I found out that I had passed the exam. So when UVA said, there's probably something better you can do in life, I said, I'll find out what that is. So I joined a real estate company that Barbara was with. And the reason I got involved in the organization itself is that, and pardon my being very personal about this, I sold a property, attempted to sell a property And the lady didn't get it. And she said she was going to file a fair housing case against me. And I said, this is interesting. I knew enough about fair housing to know that there ought to be a reason, right? Well, she was Caucasian, and I think I passed as Caucasian. And the reason she lost is because she had her attorney, who admittedly did not like women in real estate, insist that I write a contract that had a closing date that I said will not work, because in those days we worked for the seller. And the seller said, I cannot close before July 15th. Well, the attorney said to me, bring your typewriter, come to my house in Ivy and do what I said. So I brought my typewriter, went to the house in Ivy. He and the client had breakfast while I sat in the corner typing. And I said, sir, it will not work if you put a closing date of July 15th. God love him. He said, put July 1st. I said, sir, he said, put it. I put it, right? So her full price cash offer, get this, $99,000. Full price cash offer. She didn't get it. And she didn't get it because a lady came up from Richmond with cash over assumption July 15th. And so this lady, who was very well connected at the university, said she was going to file a fair housing complaint. My broker at that time said, go and talk to the board president, who was Inez Hayes. And Inez says, you don't have she doesn't have a case. Anyway, that's how I got involved, because having met Inez, she said, you sound like somebody we can use.
40 years later.
So anyway, I got involved with her on professional standards and MLS. And I don't know how much more Lisa wants from me right now, but if you want 47 years of it, you haven't got enough time for that.
I think you've done a great job. In being the first, were there any particular challenges that you noticed? Did you, at the time when you were being the first, did you notice lack of representation? Go ahead, Pat.
Yes. And some of my friends here are going to smile. One of the first association meetings I went to had some political overtones. And there were two women, and we were both Democrats. And everybody else in those days was the Republican. And we were talking about Albemarle County zoning and so forth and so on. So I said, well, do I dare stand up and speak? And I remembered once when I was at the university, and there were two women who went to the Senate committee meetings. And there were only two of us, and I stood up and spoke, and the entire audience turned around and looked at me. And I said, excuse me if I surprised you, but please listen to what I have to say. And a very distinguished gentleman came up to me afterward, and he said, we weren't objecting to you speaking, madam, we were just unused to it. Because there were really only two women in the faculty senate at that time. But in terms of, did I see a lack of diversity? In terms of what we see now, in terms of DEI, yes, there was a distinct lack of diversity. There were at the time more men than women. Now we have more women than men. And we certainly did not have the diversity we have now in terms of all the, if I may use the word, protected classes, and the a larger range of economic diversity, I think, than we had there.
That's a great point about the economic diversity as well. Oftentimes we forget that.
My experience, at least at the Realtor Association, people who held the position that I did at the time when I came in were either executive secretaries or executive officers, didn't have really CEOs. And if you would travel to the state or the national level, they would all be white. I mean, I can't remember a person of color in a position as an executive officer. And they were largely women. And for the larger associations, they were almost all men. And so it was very interesting to me. There were a few that were women, and of course, the opinion of those women were very different than what they are today, right? Strong women in 1990, different than the opinion I think today of women in 2022, 23, which is a very encouraging. But it is, in retrospect, looking back, thinking about people of color in that industry, I presume it's different now, and only you all will know, those of you who travel and see people that who are in Abby's position, if there are more people of color in that industry. I would hope that there are. And as far as the membership was concerned, it was not that diverse from the standpoint of people of color. There were a few, but not really. And I presume that that has changed a lot since then. So
Thank you for that. I consider you change makers. As change makers, were there any unique challenges that you faced that you overcame, but at the time it was truly testing your skill set?
everything. So it's a funny story. And for those who were here back then, this is not meant to be anything other than just an observation. So when I came from Richmond, I had been working for the Retail Merchants Association, and it was very similar to CAAR in the standpoint that there was the Retail Merchants Association of Greater Richmond, which was a nonprofit doing all kinds of things, advocacy. It was retail oriented, so it was all about retail merchants. But they also owned a credit bureau of Richmond, so that was their cash cow. Like at CAAR, CAAR was all the things that you do, plus the multiple listing service, which made all the money. And so, but they'd been at it for 40 plus years, the president and the senior vice president, and I was the executive assistant. And I sat between them and learned everything you could learn about board management and all kinds of things. And they had a lot of money. They sold the credit bureau of Richmond for lots and lots of money. And they bought a building on Monument Avenue and they decked it out. Just after that, I came to Charlottesville. And when I walked into the building we used to own on Commonwealth Drive, so I don't know if you see, I wear high heels. When I walked into that building, some of you are laughing because you remember that building. It was a 1970s. I don't know when you bought the building. Pat can tell you. She was on the committee or probably bought it anyway. When I walked in, this is a funny story. So when I walked in the first time, everything was that pea green color that was in the 1970s. Everybody think about going retro now, right? Avocado green, exactly. And I put my foot down on the carpet, the first step in, and it crunched. And every step across the carpet, I was crunching because whatever the padding underneath was so old that everywhere I went, I was crunching. And then we had two desks sitting in a part of the building, and they were shoved together, and we had a part and a full-time employee, one who was a person of color. And then my office was on the other side of the building, and we couldn't have been more siloed. It was a crazy place. Then Catherine Moyer at the time, who was the executive officer, she handed me a shoebox, and inside of it were all the membership dues records. A page this size, handwritten, that said Percy Montague, full member, $400 or whatever, $200. And no spreadsheets, no computers, no nothing. And my first job, this is from a woman who never had to use a computer in college or in my first job. My first job was to bring online the association's membership records software, computing software, Rapatoni, if all those who remember it. And I didn't know what I was doing. You remember that? Because you were probably. And then Cindy Corin at the time was the MLS committee chair, and they were looking at a new MLS. But the MLS, there's some of you are so young in here, you won't know what I'm talking about. There were 6 to 7 inch floppy disks that would go into these modems, and the lights would light up, and it was in this corner, and it had all these things going into it. It looked nothing like what you're using today. So that was interesting. And during my tenure, we went through 2 different MLS conversions. And we ended up in a sort of a cloud-based thing at the time that I left, but that was interesting. And of course, there was no internet in 1988 when I came to CAAR. And I think just to tout your horn as CAAR, we were one of the very first organizations in the National Association of Realtors to put our listings online. And that was a challenge. If you'll remember, we couldn't know, we weren't sure how much information we could put on. So it was a picture, an MLS number, the price, the agent, and the phone number. That's all we put online, because like we had, everybody had the book, right? And so I remember when I first came, we were issuing MLS books every week. So they were published every week, and we had a person, all her job to do on a Monday or a Tuesday was to put numbers on it and put them in a bookshelf so people could come in and pick up their books, which they then used. They put people in the car and dragged them around town looking at real estate licenses, real estate. And the other, of course, would have been our venture into publishing with the Real Estate Weekly. Talk about something I know nothing about. That was really interesting, going through the process of hiring someone and getting consensus to do that. And I was fascinated by your antitrust statement here. I was thinking, wow, that's 30 years too late. That was incredible. But that was a journey. And I'm sure we can talk about that in great detail, but I happened to be 8 months and 27 days pregnant and got a call from the Daily Progress saying that we'd been sued. Did I have a statement for the paper? And I didn't know what they were talking about. And this was 2 years after we'd launched the Real Estate Weekly. And that's a whole nother story. And I'm sure Percy and others in the room can help tell that story. But that was quite the journey. It was a 15-month journey, telling our story and raising funds to get that thrown out on summary judgment 15 months later, and a lot of angst in the process. So that was a learning experience, and I've learned and I use a lot of that knowledge today in all my work.
Oh, wow. what
And
a
I could go
story.
on.
What a story.
Needless to say, this facility is amazing. If you want to go from where I started, crunchy carpet, to this facility. Congratulations to you all.
How can you follow up with that, Pat?
I'm going to fake it the way I always do.
Nobody fakes it like you.
I want to pick up on two things. One is the building and the other one is MLS. But I mentioned Diane Haynes, and because she tapped me on the shoulder and said, we could use you, she put me on the MLS committee. And one of my big challenges became, and I wish Keith Knight were here, he was president or vice president, one of the two, and I was MLS chair. And we were the group that went to Charlotte, North Carolina to investigate getting us on computer. And some of you will remember, I see a couple smiling faces that will remember, we went on computer with Boris. Thank you, Donna, Boris. Well, what did we have to do? And I know Percy will remember this. We had to come back to Charlottesville and we had to come back to Charlottesville. And Abby, it's because you don't hear me well that I'm going to put this on. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. It's for the Zoom.
We
Can you
can't
hear me
forget
now?
them.
I need you to know I grew up with Zoom. Yes. Okay. Anyway, we went to Charlotte and came back with a plan to put CAAR on computerized system, so we didn't have to carry around these great big heavy books. Well, we had a meeting at Ken Johnson Cafeteria, which some of you will not recognize, but it was a big cafeteria in Barracks Road. And I, being fairly new to the business, this was 82 or so, and I became a member of the association. I qualified in 75, but really didn't do much till 76. There were a lot of three-piece suit types, Percy will remember them all, who said, what are you doing trying to make us do something that we're not accustomed to doing? And we had a couple people, some major companies, Percy, who said, young lady, you are forcing this down our throat. And I'm looking around and I said to a couple people, and Joe Ost was one of them, who started to walk out of the room, followed by a close personal friend of Percy Montague's and mine. I said, please, gentlemen, do not leave. I need your help. And when I said that, they turned around and came back. At least Joe did. Okay. So that was a big challenge for me. And I must say, you talk about relying on the people in your past. The people who came to my support as not a young woman, but a woman fairly new to the association, trying to say, folks, we need to get on MLS. I had a lot of support and it worked very well. Same thing happened when we were going to buy the building on Commonwealth. That time I happened to be the president. So I was supposed to sign contracts for the purchase of this building on Commonwealth. And what did I hear? Why are we spending the association's money on this building with the avocado green or whatever it was?
It was
right?
really bad.
And so this is the argument we used. Well, if realtors encourage other people to buy and own, why wouldn't we? And we got that through. Now I'm going to tell a little joke on Gordon Wheeler. Gordon was my vice president. And Gordon was one of these guys who said, well, I might take the office, but I'm not going to do a whole lot. So you be sure you girls take care of things, right? So yeah, we signed for, we bought the building.
I got him back for you.
Pardon?
I got him back for you in my interview.
We bought the building and signed in December. He became president in January. Well, he got to be, so he got all the publication, all the press. And I said, that's okay. I don't mind being, because behind every successful man is a more successful woman.
So funny story, in my interview with CAAR, so I did show up for an interview and I was upstairs in that room, in the boardroom at the time, and there were like 10 of you there, and Gordon Wheeler was chairing, or was close to chairing the committee, and he asked me how I felt about interviewing with all of them, and I said, well, I don't mind interviewing with older people. And he looked at me with a look like, okay. Got him back for you.
But I must say in Gordon's favor, in those days, we were trying to, this was part of a diversity for us. We were trying, and Percy, again, I'm going to ask you to help me remember this. We were trying to get the various specialties of our association to work together. And two big examples we had, thanks Barbara for shaking your head. Two things that we had to work at were the people up at Wintergreen who felt that there was not a particular need to be with us and that we didn't particularly reach out to them. And there was a supposition that they were not going to continue to participate in the association or in the MLS. The second group were the people who listed lots, unimproved lots down at Lake Monticello, because we did not have a good, Donna, we did not have a good representation of Lake Monticello unimproved lots in our MLS. Well, my gosh, there were 4,000 of them. There was no way for us to have a picture of every lot. So two of our outreach programs, and Gordon did support this. He supported it from the farm and estate side. And Bill Howard was active, and I'm sure Percy was active. But what we did was we did outreach and went to these outlying associations to convince them of their need to remain in the association. And we tried to improve the representation of their properties in our multiple listing service.
Great job. So I want to touch a little bit more on some of your stories and go a little bit deeper into it, but still pulling into the fact that you were the first and having to overcome some of those challenges. Did you also feel that some of those challenges were in correlation to your gender, race, or identification? So pull on those and you can tell how you overcame them, not getting back at them, but really how you overcame
I was just
them.
teasing. To be very honest, I never felt like anything I did was really held back by virtue of my gender. I do think times were different and expectations might have been different from me as a woman in the position as opposed to a man. Particularly difficult for me during my time was feeling like I was fully compensated fairly. So compensation has always been an issue around women, men, and the differential there. And I did have my fair share of conversations with leadership during my tenure here, and literally all through my professional life, not just here, but elsewhere. And when I was doing things here at the at CAAR and in my profession, I do still get the sense at times that I'm doing work that my male peers would not be asked to do. That is still an issue. For example, if it's administrative like, it tends to always fall to me. I would never ask my male counterparts to do, will you take minutes? Will you take notes in this focus group we're in? When can we get those back from you? And so, and by just the flip side of that is I find myself the first one willing to do it. So it's a little bit programmed for women to do that. So I can only speak from my standpoint as a woman. Going back just to my upbringing, my dad he passed away several years ago. He was a very strong, very gregarious, outgoing guy, and I admired him dearly. My mother was a very capable house homemaker, right? And my dad always told me, you can do anything you set your mind to, and I believed them, and I still do. And I that's a sort of a philosophy I live by, and I am very much a doer and a change maker, and I enjoy that role, and I don't really let people get in my way. So I think it kind of depends on who you are as to how you take it, and if it gets in your way of doing those things, and if you let it sort of burden you. I have not done that. There have been some times when I've had a dust up and I felt like I really had to get in there and protect myself. But I am happy to say that that has not happened to me all that often. I think people can see that I'm genuine, and they realize that if I am committing myself to something, I can do it. And they have largely followed along or allowed me the space to do it.
Pat?
Well, coming from the other side of the moon, and I think I'm going to thank Lisa for giving me the opportunity to endure therapy here. Because I must admit, since she asked me to be prepared for this question, I'm happy to tell you of a few instances when I did feel that gender made a difference. Although I have to tell you, I'm not one for digging up old bones, and I don't look in the past very often, except to thank those who helped me get to where I am. But I've had many occasions in academia as well in real estate when it's been clear to me that gender did and still does make a difference. And a classic example that I can give you from real estate was I became principal broker very early in my real estate career. And people would come in, especially guys, sorry, got a lot of you friends out here, would come into the office and say, I want to see the principal broker. And I would show up and it would be, well, who are you? And I said, I'm the person you requested. And the answer I would get was, well, where's Mr. Bailey? Or where's so-and-so? Where's Mr. Greenwood? Where's so-and-so? And I would say, well, did you want to see Mr. Bailey or Mr. Greenwood? Or did you want to see the principal broker? Because if you want to see the principal broker, you've got her, right? There were times when I did some commercial real estate. I used to be, used to sell, let me put it that way, used to try to sell motels up and down the Atlantic seaboard. And don't be offended, friends, but I never did tell my mother how much money I made in motels. Anyway, but seriously, right, seriously, there were people who did not expect female commercial brokers, just didn't expect it, didn't expect female commercial brokers. Now, in terms of a couple aspects of discrimination that had to do with fair housing, Barb McMurray will remember this. There were a couple of instances where we went on listing agreements or listing appointments and were flat out told, remember, if you take this listing, you won't be selling to those people. And Barb and I together have turned down business because we did not do business that way. So yeah, but in terms, if I may just give you two more instances that have to do with the 1974 Consumer Protection Act. I bought a house in Virginia in 1974 with another single woman. We were both at the university. Neither of us made enough money to buy a house, so we decided to buy together. We'd known each other way back when we were both young faculty members at the College of St. Joseph in New Mexico. We both ended up in Charlottesville. Well, here's the deal. We bought the house March 17th, 1974. Now, folks, this is 1974, not 1874. 1974, bought the house in March, St. Patrick's Day. We were to close over the 4th of July because we would get a holiday from faculty at the university. The Friday before the closing of July 1, I got a call from a major insurance company here in Charlottesville, who is still here. God love them, bless them, and keep them holy. Saying, I'm sorry, but we cannot provide you the homeowners insurance, not title insurance, not mortgage insurance, not life insurance, homeowners insurance. And I said, why are you saying that? And the answer was, because you are not related by blood or by marriage. And I said, and how long have you known that? Well, you knew it from the application. Now this is right before the 1974 Consumer Protection Act and Equal Credit Opportunity and all those wonderful acts that then gave us the right as women to do things without where's your husband, right? Okay, so my friend, who is not nearly as aggressive as I, didn't participate as much as I did, but I raised holy you know what, and that very large company changed its policy, but not before I could get my homeowner's insurance. So I got it from the same company who would give me title insurance. Now, isn't that interesting? You could get title insurance, life insurance, but you couldn't get homeowner's insurance, right? Okay, that's the number one thing I want to tell you about the real estate. And the other aspect is that the Equal Credit Opportunity Act did take away from those firms that wanted to discriminate on the basis of their investor needs, the opportunity to judge a female's portfolio simply on the basis of who was sort of standing behind it. And standing behind the portfolio, it essentially means that you don't have that value all by yourself. And I use that as an example for us to, and this is a little preachy, but when we have clients and customers, our first focus ought to be on that individual and that individual's value, that individual's portfolio, and not what can stand behind them, not kind of what kind of a history they had, not kind of what kind of economic background they came from, but who are they now?
Amen. 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 Well said. Well said. Well said. Okay, we're going to dive a little deeper into this psychological session that we're having here. And we got 10 minutes, so I'm going to narrow this down. I'm going to give you a question after this one as well, okay? But you answer this one, and then we're going to allow for comment from Zoom, okay? All right. So focus. Don't be focused, but I do want some good answers.
She's going to get what she's paying for.
I trust you, Pat. So oftentimes we hear leaders speak on how their failures were instrumental in their leadership development and success. And on my personal level, I often pull on my failures to keep me moving, to keep stepping forward. How do you see your failures, or do you see them as failures, and do you have an inspirational story to share? Let's start with you, Pat.
Well, I can just pass this on to Deborah because I haven't had any.
I was going to say the same thing. Can we just move on to the second question?
No, we're going to stick to this question.
Actually, I appreciate you allowing me to be a little bit cavalier with this. Lisa and I discussed, Lisa and I discussed it. There's one of my failures. I keep forgetting to say
You're
yes, Lisa,
fine.
because I've known her since she was very young. And
Knee high to a butterfly.
my definition of failure and somebody else's might be different. I think sometimes we use the word failure when it has a sort of sense of that's the end of things. I think more in terms of setbacks. And if you have only one shot at something and you don't succeed, I guess we could call that a failure. But if you have a second chance, a second shot, and most of us do, then the first one is really just a setback. And yes, I have had a number of setbacks. You've heard a lot of them. I come from a very large family. I was a third child. I grew up being extremely competitive because I felt that I had to get to where my older sister was, who was loved, honored, and adored, and straight A student. My brother was the first son, so he was loved, honored, and adored, and a straight A student. I said, by golly, I'll be them or a combination thereof. And so, yes, I was very competitive, but I did have setbacks. I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be a federal judge. And in those days, the amount of opportunity to go to law school when you come from a large family in a little village in Nebraska was minimal. And my father didn't believe in borrowing money. And the scholarships I could get, you ready for this? Teaching, nursing, or sports. And I got a sports scholarship and was not allowed to take it. So I said, okay, well, that was family. That wasn't, I can't fault anybody else, family and teachers. So I started out in education and have never regretted it. But I always thought of that as a setback because it was something I wanted and I couldn't accomplish. I also feel that there have been times in my teaching years, and I don't even want to total the number of years I've been teaching. You can get out your calculators. I started out very young, of course, you know, but I had my first full-time teaching job in 1958. So you know that there have been setbacks. You know if there have been things I have not accomplished in those times. And sometimes when you can't help a student pass a grade, pass a course, or you can have a student feel that they've done very, very well, I consider that a setback, not a failure, but a setback, because you keep trying as the semester goes on to try to help that person. Now, in answer to Lisa's question, how do you overcome these things? First of all, you have to have confidence in what you're doing. Secondly, you have to believe that there are things that you cannot completely accomplish. You can't because you're not living by yourself when you're teaching, right? You're not living by yourself when you're working with a group. You're not living by yourself when you're trying to lead a group. So there will be instances you cannot control, right? And the last thing is, you have to look at the person you are trying to help more than you look at yourself. This is akin to stage fright. If you're thinking about yourself and what you're going to say and how you are going to appear, stage fright does not go away. But if you think of the audience and what you are doing for them and what benefit will accrue to them, you don't have stage fright. You have focus on the goal. I hope that.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. We got 3 minutes.
Well, I'm going to be short because I don't think I can really top that. And I agree 100% with what Pat said as it relates to it's really setbacks. And I don't know that I have any major failures where I've fallen down and had to really, thank God. I've had disappointments in my life and in myself through in my profession. But I would say that all of those setbacks really set the stage for learning for the next level. If there was an example I would give while I was at CAAR, I think it would be shortly after the Real Estate Weekly and all of that was several years of turmoil at the foundation. And we really focused only on that. We were also getting ready for another MLS conversion and change, which required a very different look at what the dues levels would be. And there was a really big conversation about, well, we've got top producers really carrying everybody else. And so top producers should, we should set the level of dues at a certain level, and that would actually created a lot of conflict at all the other levels within the producing membership. And I'll remember being at a meeting like this at the Days Inn Hotel, at the time it was the Days Inn, and the membership was in upheaval. I mean, when we were talking at the dais, talking about this is what we're going to do and this is what the new membership levels were going to be, there was literally people screaming in the audience. And at the time, Punky File was sitting next to me and she said, "Don't worry, we just have more communicating to do. We have more work to do. We did not come prepared, and you're not doing anything wrong." But it got really ugly. And those who were in the room will remember that. It was probably one of the most challenging moments. And to your point, Pat, it wasn't necessarily my fault. We had a team of people that were presenting this new way of thinking. Linda McGovern was president at the time, and we were all in this together, but I was taking it very, very seriously because I had never been on the other side of an issue that was so tumultuous, where I felt like I was personally being attacked. And so that taught me a lot about the value of consensus building and communicating, and more importantly in communicating is the listening and understanding where people are coming from. There was no doubt that the top producers were generating all of the, literally it's like the biggest number, but that wasn't really necessarily the way to go about doing what we were doing. So that was a big inflection point. And I don't want to take more time. I know we have limited time and you want us to answer questions.
Great answer. And if time allows, we can come back and discuss a question about how to build consensus when you're dealing with a difficult topic. Do we have any Zoom? We have time for, okay. Who can talk in 1 minute? Do you want to, that allows us a little time to add on to how do you build consensus? And sometimes it's really not about how the communication is happening. You're just dealing with a either difficult individual or a difficult topic that's not going to go down easy no matter what. So how do you build, or what skills did you build on?
Yeah, and I might use an example that I'm in the middle of right now at the university. So one of the roles that I play at the UVA Foundation is to market, promote, develop our research parks. So I say research parks plural, really the one we're talking about is North Fork,
Okay.
which is at the airport. And for years, Percy and others in the room will know that the UVA Foundation, while I was here, bought and assembled and zoned 562 acres north of town, largely because this room of people showed up at the zoning meeting at the third one to get it approved. But the university has never had a unified vision about what they really want to have happen at the research park. And to this day, we're still working on that. In fact, I just held a retreat and was able to gather 70, 100 said they were coming, 70 showed, to talk about what would this look like if it was successful. So we are starting with open dialogue. We're not looking back to say it's taken us 30 years to get here. We're trying to say lots of things have changed. What's important, and not only did we include university, but we included industry leaders, startup companies, real estate professionals, economic development professionals, and you name it. And we're starting to get some feedback around that, but this is just the beginning of a long process of listening. And then the discussion goes to what's possible and developing that vision together, because as I learned in other stories that we can't get into, if as a leader, you can't be the only one with the vision. When you look back and nobody's following you, you're not really doing a good job. So we have to do this, bringing people along with us so that we're all invested in it together. And that really makes for success.
Absolutely. And having all stakeholders at the table. Did you want to add to any of that, Pat?
I would just like to end with this, because we discuss leadership, and I think leadership needs to remember where you got here. And I would like to give you a very famous quote because a very wise person reminded me that we have all been shaded by trees we did not plant. We've all been warmed by fires we did not build. We have all drunk from cups we did not fill, and we have all built on foundations we did not pour. And I had the benefit of all that, and you have the benefit of all that, and Lisa, I know you will benefit from that. And I thank you for the opportunity to let me be here.
That sounded like a great wrap up, Pat. Did we have any additional questions that anyone wished to participate in? Any from the Zoom, any from the audience that you'd like to ask? How much additional time do we have? Or are we running over? Okay, so we will not have any additional questions.
Yes, Lisa, I would like to just also say one thing, and this for the, I've said a couple of times, there are people who've been in this room for a long time, but there are also people who are young in this room. And I just want to say, as a leader, not only have I been mentored by people who I thought were older and more and wiser than me, but I have also been mentored by people younger than me. And I don't want to make it sound like, you know, someone has to mentor you that's older than you, but you can be mentored by those around you that you're mentoring, and the younger folks. So thank you for that.
That's a great point. My kids let me know that every single day. I want to hand this back over to Pam. Thank you both.
Please give Lisa, Pat, and Deborah another round of applause as a thank you for sharing their struggles. At this time, I want to highlight a few of our association's accomplishments in 2022, attributed to our master groups, project teams, and council members. The Communications Master Group encouraged members to volunteer alongside the community, whether that was during a Habitat for Humanity Build Day, Outlying County Food Pantry Day, or ringing the bell with the Salvation Army. Additionally, the group was recently awarded with a $2,000 Virginia Realtors Community Engagement Grant, which will go towards a value of the Realtor campaign in Q1 next year. Lastly, they initiated a call for action to raise $10,000 for the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank in the month of November. I'm thrilled to announce they succeeded with that goal. Over $13,000 was raised, which was then matched by a $10,000 donation from Sally and Peter Neal. Thank you to donors listed on the screen for your support, as we were able to provide over 92,144 meals to our neighbors this holiday session. I'm really proud that CAAR has been able to be involved in that effort. The MLS Master Group updated various MLS rules and regulations based on the mandates from the National Association of Realtors. They also negotiated the addition of Fauquier and Rappahannock counties to the Bright MLS Data Share Agreement, which enhances our data distribution to members beyond the CAAR footprint. In addition, they continued the partnership with Harrisonburg-Rockingham Association of Realtors and Greater Augusta Association of Realtors and implemented various MLS system updates. The Operations Master Group continued to monitor the financial stability as the association balanced growth, opportunity, change, and the reality of inflation alongside the budget and finance project team. They also evaluated various building maintenance and repair contractors and selected the best option based on reputation, price, and recommendations for the association and the Hillsdale Conference Center. In addition, They were able to welcome the second Pat Jensen Leadership Academy class, where members will be encouraged to take further movement into leadership roles in the Realtor organization at the local, state, and national level. Lastly, the nominations review project team under their group implemented the board of directors and officers nomination and election process to be more inclusive and engaging. The professional development master group enhanced our speaker selection process and deepened our pool of instructors to provide 478 hours of education. Wow, that's a lot. Delivered both in person and via Zoom. They listened to members' biggest challenges and developed latte and learns that covered various topics, such as the value of staging, do's and don'ts of showings, and what elements make cooperative brokerages work. Additionally, they provided an exclusive market forecast focusing on consumer and builder data through the annual Development and Economic Summit. The Public Affairs Master Group hosted a property luncheon that provided beneficial information and resources to realtors to assist clients seeking short-term rental regulatory information. They also received a $25,000 National Association of Realtors Consumer Advocacy Grant, which will inform and encourage the public to learn more about the proposed zoning changes for the city of Charlottesville by visiting SevillePlansTogether.com. Additionally, they will host a legislative breakfast on Monday, December 12th, where local delegates will discuss topics such as affordable housing, transportation, and economic development. I hope everybody will plan to attend. The Charlottesville Young Professionals Network delivered top-notch speakers and value to our young real estate professionals to connect, learn, and grow with both in-person and virtual events. Additionally, they donated to multiple nonprofits, totaling over $12,500, and fulfilled wishes for 150 local Salvation Army Angels. Our commercial council reviewed and recommended an extension of CAAR's commercial platform contract, Catalyst. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council promoted the realtor profession and the realtor in the community during the 37th Piedmont Community College Job Fair. In addition to delivering education, training, and opportunities for us to listen, ask questions, and learn from one another, they developed a DEI resources webpage where you can review a variety of resources to grow and be mindful of how you speak, behave, and treat one another. The DEI resources webpage has been so beneficial that it will be published to the public portion of CAAR.com. That way, everyone can benefit from it, not just our members. They will also be rolling out another great resource for us during their last event of the year on Thursday, December 15th. I would also like to thank both the Broker Council and the Past Presidents Council for their continued evaluation and feedback on CAAR's strategic activities for the year. All these volunteers have offered CAAR a trusted and experienced perspective as we manage association operations. The Realtors Political Action Committee, also known as RPAC, surpassed its fundraising, participation, and major investor goals for 2022. We raised $86,821 with 53% membership participation. That's 562 investors. At the end of November, we have 33 major investors, Those are members who gave $1,000 or more to RPAC. Thank you to all the members who have contributed to RPAC regardless of the amount. Every dollar counts and supports the realtor voice. Since CAAR has exceeded its 2022 RPAC goals, we are thrilled to share we will receive the National Association of Realtors Triple Crown Award for the 8th consecutive year. Last, but certainly not least, there is the CAAR Foundation. The foundation received its official IRS letter in October of last year, and in December 2021, it received its first donation, $71,000 from CAAR. I'm pleased to share that another $71,000 donation will be made later this month to forward the foundation's mission, which is to be an effective mechanism for realtors to donate their time, talent, and resources to sustain, impact, and support community initiatives. The CAAR Foundation Board of Directors is working closely with the Spark Mill, a consulting firm based in Richmond, to help guide them through a strategic planning process. Once a strategic plan is developed, they will be seeking an executive director to get the foundation up and running. More to come. As we end 2022, I want to thank each one of the volunteers that represented 12% of our membership. I truly appreciate your expertise, time, and commitment. You have made a tremendous difference. If you are interested in volunteering with CAAR next year, please complete a 2023 volunteer form by Friday, December 16th. Realtors can apply anytime using the single sign-on SSO dashboard. Affiliates can apply anytime using the CAAR member portal. You will gain so much from volunteering, I guarantee it. At this time, I want to recognize several more influential members for their outstanding service to CAAR in 2022. Our outgoing board members, Quentin Beckham, Ann Burrows, although you will now see her as an upcoming president-elect, Ben Reeves, Ginger Slavic, Keith Smith, and Candace Vandelinder, although she will be rejoining the board for another 3-year term next year. Thank you for the commitment you made and the ideas you brought forward to CAAR as members of our board of directors during your years of service. At this time, we will move on to the President's Award presentation. I love to give out awards and presents. This award is given by the President to a person or group who has shown loyalty and support in advancing the objectives of CAAR. This year, I'm pleased to give a President's Award to 2 groups of people who have made outstanding contributions during my year as president. You have just heard an overview of the initiatives that CAAR has accomplished this year through our master groups and project teams. These groups would never have been able to accomplish so much without the efforts of the CAAR staff. As president this year, I've had the pleasure to work closely with our staff. I want you to know how lucky we are to have such a dedicated staff who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make us look good and to help our association achieve its goals. You may not know, but they have not been fully staffed for the past several years. Each staff member has pitched in, not only covering their own role, but also tasks associated with the unfilled positions, all without missing a beat and continuing to provide the high level of service that we, the members, expect from CAAR. In recognition of the dedicated service provided by these talented individuals, I am proud to present a President's Award to the CAAR staff. I would like to recognize each staff member by name and to thank them not only for their contribution to CAAR, but also for the support that they have provided to me over the past year. Abby Tamman, CEO. Tiffany Van, Director of Membership and Compliance. Allie DeGardo, Director of Marketing and Communications. Teresa Kirkhart, Director of Education. Ashley Butler, Marketing and Communications Coordinator. Brent Woodyard, Director of Sales and Services, Hillsdale Conference Center. Neil Williamson, Public Affairs Director, and the additions of Frank Podra-Barrick, MLS and IT Director, and Vivian Smith, Office Manager. Thank you for the service that you provide to CAAR every day. And Abby, can you come up? Yeah. This is a good time. And I get to give out more. In addition, I would like to recognize my outstanding executive committee. S. Lisa Herndon, Ann Burrows, and Quentin Beckham have been an important source of support for me throughout the year. They have served as a sounding board, someone to bounce ideas off of, and always there to help whenever needed. I appreciate your partnership, support, and dedication to the association. I am happy to present you each with a President's Award. S. Lisa, Ann, and Quentin, please join me on stage to accept your President's Award. Oh, but you all have been there at my back, helping me every step of the way. At your side. At my side. When it's back here?
In front.
In front, yeah, otherwise inside, yeah, because we're going downhill. I don't want to be downhill. I'm going downhill.
Speak for yourself.
Yes. It's hard for me to believe that it's been a year since I stood in front of you, albeit virtually, to be inducted into office. Time has flown by and it's been a busy year. I have been privileged and humbled by the opportunity to serve you. In my remarks at that time, I spoke about the importance of community. We are a community of friends, colleagues, and competitors. It takes all of us working together to forge a strong local association. As I traveled to BAR and NAR events this year, my thoughts have been confirmed. CAAR is special. It is rare to have a realtor association that evidences the sense of community that we enjoy at CAAR. At the beginning of my year, we remained shut down due to COVID. It has been my pleasure to oversee us gradually open up over the past year. The ability to meet in person strengthens our community. It is exciting to see the master groups and project teams meeting once again in person. Our building has been buzzing with education classes, board meetings, networking, and community events in the Hillsdale Conference Center. And perhaps best of all, we can gather together in person for our general membership meetings. Never again will I take for granted the ability to meet with my realtor family. As we come together in our professional and personal lives, it's important to keep diversity, equity, and inclusion top of mind. I am proud of the steps that CAAR has taken to become a more diverse and equitable association. In meeting other realtors from across the country, it became obvious that CAAR is a leader in this arena, but there is still work to do. We are privileged to have our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council to lead the way. I was pleased to be able to offer the At Home with the Diversity course to the Board of Directors and Master Group Chairs and Vice Chairs. As you know, last year, we formed a new strategic plan to guide us for 3 years. This year, we intentionally worked on the implementation of the strategic initiatives throughout every facet of the association. And importantly, it was all guided by the lens of DEI. We had our first election under the new nomination process. We were able to bring additional transparency and a variety of candidates to our membership. I would like to thank the Candidate Review Committee for a successful first year. This year, we also see the return of the Pat Jensen Leadership Academy, which was forced to be delayed until it could meet in person. As a graduate of the first PJLA, this is dear to my heart. I'm excited to follow this year's graduates as they walk in their individual leadership paths. Before I close, there are some additional people that I want to make sure to thank. Personally, I would like to thank my family and Bridget Archer, my real estate partner, for their patience with the additional time required by my duties to CAAR. I have been fortunate to have the very best board of directors. Everyone freely contributed their ideas to the discussion. They had the ability to respectfully disagree, and we made sure that everyone was heard. A vibrant mix of ideas is important for the vitality of an association. Finally, most importantly, I want to thank you, the CAAR members, for your support over the past year. Keep on volunteering for the association and the greater community. It truly takes a village. Before we start to close today's meeting, I would like to congratulate the following members on their recent accomplishments. Benjamin Lynch received his Graduate Realtor Institute, or GRI, designation. Peggy Shanklin also received her GRI designation. And Dylan Farish received his Virginia Property Management Certificate. Please join me in a round of applause as a congratulation to these members. To conclude this morning's meeting, I would like to welcome the following new Realtor members. Their names are on the screen. In addition, I would like to mention the following new affiliate members. They've been added to the screen. I will not officially adjourn this meeting as we have the CAAR 2023 Installation of Officers and Directors meeting to look forward to this evening from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. here at the Hillsdale Conference Center. So for now, if I don't see you this evening, I wish you the happiest of holidays. For those I will see this evening, I hope you're ready to celebrate and don't forget to bring your dancing shoes. Thank you.